Girlfriend just tried to get power of attorney over me, and she's saying that I'm not mentally stable. Guys, my family wants to get me admitted because they think that I'm using, but I've never taken anything in my life. I don't even like the way coffee makes me feel. So how in the world could she say that I've been using? Well, guys, I figured it out. I figured out why I'm seeing all these shadows, why I see all these people and hear these voices in my head. My girlfriend's been giving me something in my protein shake for 3 years, and I'm just now finding out. But you know what? I promise she's not going to win this battle. I don't even know where this is anymore, because everything feels scrambled like some eggs, like you're trying to remember a dream, but all the pieces are in the wrong order. Maybe it started the day I matched with her on Hinge, and she had that photo with the rescue pit bull, and I thought, wow, someone who saves dogs must have a good heart, right? I was stupid. She was a pharmacy tech at CVS near my old apartment, the one with the weird lights that made everything look sick. And she always smelled like hand sanitizer mixed with this vanilla perfume that I can still smell sometimes when I'm falling asleep. And I have to get up and check the locks even though I know she's not here. She can't be here. There's a restraining order. But my brain doesn't care. My brain still thinks that she's hiding in the shadows, waiting. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. The first 6 months were perfect, like scary perfect. Like the kind of perfect that should have been a red flag, but I was 26 and lonely and she laughed at my accounting jokes. And brought me lunch at work and remembered that I hate tomatoes, but love sun-dried tomatoes, which even I think is weird. She moved in after the 4-month mark, which yeah, I know, fast. But she said her roommate, Marigold, was stealing from her and she seemed so vulnerable and small in my doorway, with just 2 suitcases and that stupid rescue pit bull, who turned out wasn't even hers. Anyways, that's when the protein shake started. Every morning she would make this special blend with all these supplements because she said I looked tired and wasn't taking care of myself, and I thought, wow, someone actually cares about my health. Vanilla protein powder, a little bit of fake sugar, some green crap that tasted like grass, and apparently 30 milligrams of Adderall crushed up, but I wouldn't find that out for 3 years. Yeah, it's insane, I'm just getting into it. She watched me drink it every morning sitting across from me at this little IKEA table smiling this evil smile that I thought meant love, but now I knew meant was something else. The symptoms started slow at first, just little things like forgetting why I walked into a room or losing track of a conversation mid-sentence. Then came the insomnia, but only when she wasn't there. She would go get her a visit with her sister, Ramona, in Delaware once a month, and I would spend 3 days straight staring at the ceiling, convinced somebody was breaking in. The shadows started moving after about 6 months, and these dark shapes in my peripheral vision that would disappear when I turned to look. By year 2, I was hearing whispers when I was alone in the office, full conversation sometimes, but I could never make out the words. My coworkers started avoiding me, I could tell. Found out later my boss had a whole file documenting my erratic behavior, like the time I spent 4 hours reorganizing the supply closet because I was convinced somebody had been moving things around to mess with me. Or when I accused the janitor of going through my desk because my stapler was facing the wrong way. Tamsin would pick me up from work, and I'd tell her everything, and she would hold my hand and say, "Baby, you're just stressed, we'll get through this together." And I believed her, because what else was I supposed to believe, that I was going crazy? She starts documenting everything, too, I found out later. Videos of me pacing at 3 in the morning, talking to myself about the patterns in the wallpaper. Recordings of me crying and begging her not to leave me alone because the shadows were getting worse. And photos of me passed out in a weird place because apparently that much Adderall for that long, it messes with your heart, and sometimes I would just drop. She would show these to me later when I was lucid and say this is why you need me to take care of you, and I would cry and apologize for being such a burden. My family tried to intervene around the 2nd year mark. It was my brother Cyrus. He drove 4 hours to stage this whole intervention thing, I guess, with my parents and my college roommate and even my uncle, who I hadn't seen since 19. They sat me down in my mother's living room, the one with the plastic covers on the furniture, and told me that they were worried I was using drugs. I laughed. Actually laughed because I've never even smoked a joint. I was the designated driver in college. I was The boring one, but they have evidence, they said. Weight loss, mood swings, paranoia, all classic signs of a stimulant abuse. Tamsin held my hand throughout all this and cried these perfect tears and said she's been trying to get me help, but I refuse to admit myself I have a problem. My mother believed her, of course, because Tamsin had that way of making you believe things, and by the end of the intervention, they were comforting her, and I was the a-hole who was breaking everyone's heart with my addiction. I started therapy after that because what else could I do? A $400 session twice a week with this woman who had inspirational quotes on every wall and always just offered me tea that tasted like dirt. I told her about the shadows and the whispers and the feeling that somebody was always watching me, and she would nod and write things and ask about my substance abuse, and I'd say I don't use substances, and she would do that therapist thing where they just look at you until you talk more. Spent $30,000 total on therapy and psychiatrics and sleep studies and blood tests, you name it. That somehow always came back inconclusive, because guess who worked at the laboratory where they sent my samples? Yeah, her best friend Boone, who I thought was just this sweet guy who came over for game nights but was apparently in on it the whole time. The breaking point came when I lost my job. Not fired per se, but encouraged to resign after I had what they called a psychotic break, but was really just me finally putting together that somebody was moving things in my office. I'd set up these elaborate systems with tape and string to track if things moved, and they always did. But everyone said I was doing it to myself with some kind of fugitive state. Tamsin was there to pick me up with a box of my stuff, and she rubbed my back and said, at least now you can focus on getting better. That's when she showed me the power of attorney papers. She said it was temporary, just until I was stable again, so she could handle things while I focus on my mental health. I was so tired from not sleeping, from seeing things, from feeling like my skin was actually crawling all the time that I almost signed them. Almost. But something in her eyes when she handed me the pen, something eager, something hungry, made me say, I need to think this over, babe. She didn't like that one. The next month, was actually hell. She upped whatever dose she was giving me because the shadows turned into full people walking through our apartment and the whispers became screaming and I could not eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything except how much I needed her to make it stop. She would hold me while I sobbed and tell me, see, this is why you need someone to take care of you and you're not well, baby, you're not well. I might have signed those damn papers, might have given her everything if I have not gotten that call about the job. It's a startup in the next state over, found my resume online, LinkedIn, and wanted me to come interview, and I said yes, because I needed something, anything to prove I wasn't completely gone. Tamsin tried to talk me out of it and said I wasn't ready, that I would embarrass myself, but hell, I went anyways and took a Greyhound bus that smelled like pee, and desperation in the air, and showed up to this gleaming office building feeling like I was cosplaying as a functional human. The interview went better than expected until they mentioned the drug test. Standard procedure, they said, just a hair follicle. It's for insurance purposes, and I laughed again, that same unhinged laugh from the intervention, because here we go again. Everyone thinks I'm on drugs. But I said, sure, go ahead, test away. I've never taken anything stronger than an Advil. The lab test. The tech was this young dude, 22, with tattoos covering both arms, and he pulled me aside after and said, hey man, I'm not supposed to do this, but your tests came back pretty weird. It says that you've been taking massive doses of amphetamine, consistently, and when I say massive doses, I mean massive, like the kind that should have took you out by now, or at least landed you in a hospital. Well, I told him, sorry bro, that's impossible, that there must be a mistake, that I don't even drink coffee. He looked at me with this expression I'll never forget, like pity mixed with horror, and said, dude, somebody's drugging you then. The world tilted when he said that, like everything suddenly shifted into focus. The protein shakes, the insomnia, only when she was gone, the way she always watched me drink them, the fact that she worked at a pharmacy, and the fact that her best friend worked at the lab that, the power attorney papers already were drawn up. I went to the 3 different labs and paid out of pocket for hair testing follicles that went back, 7 years, and they all said the same thing. Consistent massive doses of Adderall. was in my system for approximately 3 years. The timeline, it seems to line up perfectly. I confronted her that night, and it was like watching a mask fall off. She didn't deny it, didn't even try to just look at me and smile, this cold smile, and said good luck proving it. Said everyone already thought I was crazy, that I was a junkie, that I was unstable, and said that she's been documenting everything for 3 years. Who was going to believe the paranoid addict over the concerned girlfriend who'd stuck by him through everything? Then she told me about her ex. Gabriel. Said his name was Gabriel, and he was a chief engineer when she met him, but now he lives in an assisted living facility because his early onset dementia made him unable to care. Said that, he tried to tell people what she had done, but who believes a crazy person? Said I should be grateful she was giving me a chance to walk away instead of end up like him. What? I went to the cops the next morning with my lab results, all my evidence, all the documentation, and you know what happened? They'd already been there. She filed a report the night before saying I've been stealing her prescription med for years, and she finally had enough. She even had a footage on her phone of me going through her purse and photos of pills missing from her bottles and a whole false narrative built up ready to go. They arrested me. Harassment, they say. When I tried to show them my evidence, said I was clearly unstable and aggressive. Spent 3 nights in county lockup in a cell with a guy named Smiley, who wouldn't stop talking about how the government put chips in his teeth, and I remember thinking, is this what I sound like to people? She used that arrest to get a restraining order. Temporary at first, but then permanent when I didn't show up to contest it, because how could I, when I was painted as the crazy ex who stole her medication and harassed her? While I was locked up, she cleaned out our apartment, took everything, even crap that was mine before I met her, and disappeared. Her ex-families reached out after they saw the arrest in the paper. His sister found me on Facebook and told me the whole story of how Tamsin had done the exact same thing to him, but worse. How she'd isolated him from everyone, convinced his family he was using drugs, and got him fired from his job. How by the time they figured out what was happening, she already had power of attorney and had him committed. He's been trying to get out for 2 years, but she controls everything. His money, his medical decisions, everything. His sister sends him letters, but Tamsin screens those too. They tried to get guardianship transferred, but the court said there's no evidence of abuse, and Gabriel's condition made him an unreliable witness. My lawyer says I'm screwed. Without her confession, without proof that she was doing this, it's just looking like I'm disgruntled. I'm a disgruntled ex trying to blame her for my drug addiction. The arrest is on my record now, so I lost a startup job before I even started. Can't pass a background check, can't explain why I've been arrested for harassment, and can't tell anybody the truth without violating the restraining order. Guys, I'm 29 years old, living in my mother's basement, and everyone still thinks I'm a junkie. My brother won't even let me around his kids, and my dad looks at me like I'm a stranger. My friends from college stopped returning my text, and the only people who believe me are Gabriel's family. And what can they do? They're fighting their own losing battle. The worst part is the symptoms have stopped. 3 years of that much Adderall apparently does permanent damage, and I still see shadows, still hear whispers, and still can't sleep without every light in the room on. My heart is racing for no reason. My hands tremble, and I get confused, and I just feel lost in very familiar places. But now I know it's not my mental illness. It's just my messed up brain trying to function without the chemical it got used to. You know, sometimes I think about finding her, not to hurt her, just to look her in the eyes and ask why. But I know she's already doing this to someone else probably. Probably has another lover boy drinking protein shakes right now, thinking, wow, somebody cares about me. And I can't even warn him. Can't even post her name online, can't do a damn thing without violating the restraining order and ending up in jail. And nobody will listen to me. I've started a journal documenting everything. I remember every detail, every conversation, every red flag I missed. Maybe someday it'll help someone. Maybe Gabriel's family can use it in court. Maybe it'll just sit in a box until I pass on and everyone still thinks I was crazy. I don't know anymore. Today's story was absolutely nuts. First of all, I want to mention the fact that how is this girl getting away with this? Let's not even imagine for a second that this was the first time she did this. Okay, maybe the police can be like, he's just a user. He's just abusing medication. And there's no proof that she's doing this, but come on. This is the second time she's gone for power of attorney over her boyfriends in the last 5 years. Is that not like the biggest red flag in the world if you go into a police department and they don't believe you? Like, hey, she just did this 3 years ago, man. Anyways, I do want to read this comment. It does support OP, but it's kind of harsh. It says, holy macaroni. OP, listen to me right now. I don't usually comment on this type of crap, but this made my blood boil. I'm a paralegal, and my sister went through something similar with her psycho ex, who was drugging her coffee. You need to stop feeling sorry for yourself and start documenting everything like yesterday. Here's what you need to do in this exact order. Number 1. File a complaint with the state pharmacy and board today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Contact the DEA. See, she's been stealing and distributing Schedule II controlled substances. Yeah, that's a federal crime. They have a tip line specifically for healthcare workers stealing. Number 3, get a lawyer who specializes in pharmaceutical assaults. Yes, that's the thing. You can message me your state and I'll send you the name. Not your current lawyer who says that you're screwed. Fire that useless piece of crap. You could have an AI bot be a better lawyer than that. Number 4, reach out to Gabriel's family immediately. Multiple victims, that's a pattern of behavior. It's a stronger case and you need to coordinate with them now. That's what I said, guys. Number 5, file a complaint with your state's medical board about her friend at the lab who was falsifying results. That's his medical license. Sayonara. Number 6, get your medical records from every single appointment that you've had in the last few years. During those 3 years at least, subpoena them if you have to. Build a timeline of your symptoms matching the drugging. And finally, hire a private investigator. You can get them for cheap nowadays. You want to find out where she is and who she's with, and you can't contact her, but a PI can, and document what she's doing to her next victim. And before anybody comes to me saying this is illegal advice, no, it's not, okay? Everything I listed is legal. OP should be pursuing all 7 of them. What's illegal is that psycho crap who did this to him and Gabriel. OP, if you don't at least do these 3 things from the list within 48 hours, then maybe you deserve to let her win. Is that harsh enough for you? Good. You need harsh right now. You need anger. Use that anger before it turns into acceptance. Edit. And for the love of God, please tell me you kept samples of those protein shakes or have any container powders from your old apartment. If yes, get it tested immediately. That's your primary evidence. Okay, guys. So, in total, that's some really solid advice. 7 things OP needs to do. If you have some advice you want to drop down below, let me know. What would you tell OP? My name is Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day, and if you're into this sort of thing, make sure you do 2 things for me right now to support the channel. Number 1, drop a comment down below. Number 2, smash that like button, and if you're feeling really froggy, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and remember one thing, it's cool to be kind. Peace.